Perfect. So tonight we're going to be covering high performance habits. Now, this is a book you can pick up by someone called Brendan Bouchard. It's a book I have read in the past. I have reran over it in the last few weeks. I listened to it on Audible, and I generally will also read the book as well. I tend to do both. So what I will do is I will buy a book and also listen to the Audible, and I will actually do them at the same time. I will read the book and listen as I'm reading it and going through it. Really good way to retain information for anyone who's looking to brush up on a certain aspect or anything along those lines. But there are kind of 6 key points, and I've broken them down. I've literally taken them from the book, but I'm just going to kind of walk through them. And yeah, I think they're very relevant to what everyone's working towards here. Again, we push heavily that it's not just about, following a meal plan and a training program, but it's about building consistency, routine, structure into everything that you do. And that certainly kind of plays into this in this book. So let me get into my slides and we can go from there. So high performance habits. Why do some people succeed more quickly than others and maintain success over the course of decades? This is obviously something that we see across the board. There's always a subsection of the population tend to do better. There's always a subsection of the population will actually stick to the process longer. And you may or may not have heard me, I'm sure you've all heard me rattling on about the statistics on diets. There's a 2% success rate long-term on diets. Which I think is pretty shocking. That is, of course, diets and not a lifestyle change, which is not what we promote. The lifestyle change is what we promote, not the diet. Now, there is a small subset of people, of course, that seem to be miserable, and then while others are, completely happy with their lives. And you can bring circumstance into this all you want, but if you look at, across the spectrum, you can take wealth or financial monetary value into it as well. You can as much as you like, but you have rich people who are miserable and you have poor people who are happy. So success and happiness, that's the combination ultimately that we're all kind of hoping to achieve. But the problem then becomes, this is one of the kind of ideas he challenges in the book, is how do you become successful and still feel more fulfilled? Now, success isn't necessarily just making more money or getting a higher paying job. It's across the board, and I'll kind of get into that as well. So high performers don't necessarily get clarity. Instead, they seek it out. So often more than other people. So they tend to find what it is they're looking for, AKA they will search out a plan, they will search out a framework, they will search out the expert, the guide. For example, successful people don't wait until New Year's Eve to perform a self-evaluation. Yous have all come in for the most part. There's probably some who joined in January, but yous all for the most part have came in maybe over the last few months, maybe over the last 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And it's not because you were waiting for the perfect time, because we all know the perfect time never comes. And it's that consistent self-evaluation that breeds high performance. And that is why we place such a huge emphasis on our weekly check-ins, on the continual measuring of data and numbers and tracking and all that sort of stuff. Ultimately, high performers seek out clarity that makes better at sifting out distractions, and then we can constantly refocus. That is why we highly push the structured approach. This is what we should be doing today. This is what we should be doing this week. How close did we get? And then actually assessing it. That is ultimately what clarity is. Clarity is just knowing what you need to do to get where you want to be. Most people come onto the program because they didn't have that. And I didn't have that for a very long time when I started in the gym as well. I didn't know what I needed to do, and I didn't know where I wanted to be. But ultimately, when you get those two clear, then you have clarity and you can take action. And it frees up all of the thinking time as well. So generating energy. And I took something from this book that I will do religiously. I maybe stretch the boundaries a little on it, but I certainly notice it. And then for anyone who works for themselves, if you're not implementing this, start. Obviously, I understand it's a bit different when you have a job to go to, things need done, listen, I get it. I worked at 9 to 5 for 10 years. So I get it. But even then, I still tried to chunk down my day. Research shows, of course, unsurprisingly, that most people lose energy throughout the day. Standard. We all have that 2 to 3 p.m. slump, and most of us end up feeling drained by the end of the day. But for some people, I would like to include myself in this. The extremely busy, productive people aren't wiped out. I can still go for some reason. I don't know what it is. I can just focus and get on with it. What we find is that most people will bleed out energy and intention in the transition between tasks, between meetings, etc. Now, what does this mean? It essentially means that, and Jordan touched on this in a presentation before, if you're trying to multitask, do a million different things at a million different places at a million different times, the transition and the constant changing of that process actually mentally fatigues you. That's why I highly suggest doing things in blocks, like whether it's cardio, whether it's your meal prep, whether it's planning out your week. I always suggest just sitting down, doing it in a block, and then moving on, because there's less thinking time before you have to get into the task. If you transition into a task, whether it's workout, gym, planning, doesn't matter, you then have to switch your thought process and your thinking away from that task. And if you try to come back to it, you're just going through this consistent back and forward. If you organize your work this way as well in your professional life, you'll be far more efficient, far more productive, and you will actually drain yourself less. So even if you do have a 9 to 5, try and structure it, for obviously, which will be the most part. If you're not in control of your schedule, essentially is what I'm trying to say here. Even then, still try and chunk your work blocks or what you're trying to do down into kind of small, manageable, focused tasks, rather than doing a bit of this here, a bit of that there, and a bit of that everywhere. One thing that was kind of noted was there's the less transitions, but ultimately high performance. And this book was basically a load of research studies broken down. I know that sounds very boring, but it was actually quite good, because he essentially looked at thousands of people across the board and kind of fleshed out the habits and the characteristics and things like that. One thing that was noted that people or high performers generate energy throughout the day. There seems to be a bit more of an oomph left at the end of the day, as opposed to falling flat at 5 p.m. Now, one of the ways, and this is kind of what I took mostly from the book when I first read it maybe 18 months ago, was chunking down tasks into 45 to 60 minutes. You will struggle to be productive for more than around 40 to 50 minutes. Like it's actually verging on humanly impossible to remain productive for that period of time. It can be done, of course, but what the way I now structure my day and my work routine and things like that is I will generally work for 50 to 60 minutes tops, then take a 5-10 minute break. I will do something, 5-10 minute break, do something, 5-10 minute break. And I just repeat those cycles throughout the day. And then obviously I kind of plan my day outside of that as well. And I plan my day wherever possible into chunks, so that I'm not transitioning behind or away from different things and doing all of these different tasks all over the place at all different times. Again, really streamlining and getting as focused as you possibly can, whether it's with work, whether it's with your training, whether it's with prepping meals. The less time you can transition in and out of tasks, the more energy you're going to have at the end of the day. Raise necessity, and this is something that is absolutely essential if you want to get to your goal. If you want to get to any goal, there has to be a necessity or a willingness to do it now. We've all put things off in the past. Procrastination, putting it off till next week, till next month, till next Monday. Raising the necessity just increases performance. It's, for example, if you, obviously I'm out here in Dubai just now and had my photo shoot last week. The necessity that I had to get in shape was very real. There was no second date. There was no other chances. The date was set and that was it. Okay, the date moved a little bit, but I set the intention of doing the shoot. So when it comes to achieving a goal, when it comes to working towards a target, whether it's losing fat, whether it's hitting your workouts, whether it's doing your steps, it doesn't matter. Rather than just, I'll get that tomorrow. Make it a necessity for your week to be structured in a way that it gets done now. It gets done in the most efficient, effective way possible. There is a sense of urgency to those who define themselves or who would be classed as high performers. Again, it doesn't need to be necessarily specifically in your work. Again, this is across the board. And one thing that a lot of people, or one thing that research brought was a lot of the high performers kind of related it back to their family, who they supported. Like, if, for example, if someone put a gun to your head and told you that, you had to get in shape or someone's going down, the level of necessity drastically increases. It always comes back to, well, who needs my A game right now? When I sit down at the computer, when I go to work, when I show up to the gym, when I prep my meals, who needs my A game right now? Who needs your A game? Is it your partner? Is it your children? Is it your parents? Do you want to be around a long time? Like, really understanding why you're doing what you're doing will raise the bar. And this is why I kind of dive quite deep into it on almost all of our initial calls, is what is really the driving force here. Because if the driving force and the level of necessity isn't there, it's a waste of time for everyone involved. So raising the bar in terms of why this has to happen now, make a commitment and get accountable. And that's why everyone's here, of course. Increasing productivity. So high performers increase the outputs that matter. When Steve Jobs came back to Apple, he done a couple of simple things. One, he stripped back a lot of the rubbish. And then he focused on the small number of things that made the difference. That's what we all have to do. Keep the main thing, not try 1 million different workout programs and plans. Again, my spelling is always pretty good. Not trying a million different things, not trying a million different supplements. What is the focused plan? What is my 3 to 5 tasks that I need to focus on today and this week? I will generally pick 3 tasks for the week, business-wise, that I need to focus on. Health-wise, I will focus on maybe 3 to 4 tops per day. It's maybe my key actions. What are my workouts? Where's my food at? What are my steps? And what sort of overall activity am I getting in? And when am I going to bed? Tonight, it's going to be a bit later than usual, but for the most part, if you can focus just on those and dial everything else back, cut out all the fluff, cut out all the noise, you get results. And that's what we're here to do. Give you a streamlined, path to success. And to be honest, when it comes to that, I will try and strip out as much as I can now when it comes to workout programs or meal plans or training programs. When it comes to anything like that, I will go, what is the most efficient, effective, streamlined way I can get to this goal? How can I be as efficient and effective as possible while still getting the results I want? Because again, I've talked about it till I'm blue in the face in the past. I used to spend 2 hours in the gym every night, 12 to 15 exercises. Who knows why? I never got results and I wondered why. Trying to do too many things, changing something up every week, no real focus, no real structure, no real clarity. So developing influence, this was an interesting one for me. High performers tend to develop influence by teaching people how to think and challenging them to grow. Have we all been, obviously you've all probably come on here to change your habits to some extent. I'm sure it's all been met with resistance to some capacity, whether it's a family member, whether it's a friend, but ultimately teaching people how to think and change their lives. High performers will look at it think of how they communicate this is, think of it this way. What if we approached it this way? Or what do you think about this? Over time, high performers will train people around them how to think. And that is what we're ultimately trying to do here. I have been trained by people who are far exceed anything I will ever do in terms of health, fitness, and nutrition. I wouldn't be a tenth of the person or the coach I am today if I hadn't gotten help from someone who was miles ahead of me, because it just taught me to think on a different level. It taught me to look at things from a different perspective. I was used to drinking a bottle of Iron Brew, eating a Mars bar and eating a tube of Smarties for my lunch and calling that okay. That was literally what my lunch used to be. And I am not joking. My mum used to give me a £1.70 for my lunch money. And I would get a bottle of Iron Brew, a tube of Smarties, a Mars bar, and a packet of fruit gums. It's amazing to think you could actually get that for £1.70 as well. and then when I went to BAE Systems, I worked in the shipyard. It was very same. You're a product of your environment, and it was, you know, curry for lunch, curry Thursdays, you know, sandwiches and chocolate biscuits all day. And you become a product of an environment. Whereas if you step into an area or a group like this, or you get help from someone, they're there to push you up. And that's what I hope we do for everyone here, because I certainly had that in my life from my first coach. And I still have a fitness coach to this day. I literally had a fitness coach for my photo shoot, who I've worked with for the last 18 months, because they continually push me. They continually demand better. And I think that's important, personally. Demonstrate courage. So this is kind of a, you know, an innocuous one or whatever you want, but there has been a huge amount of research on courage in this book as well. And they found that in the face of risk, hardship, judgment, unknown, fear, high performers tend to do a couple of things. They speak up for themselves. They share their truths and ambitions more than other people do. So obviously, everyone who's come on this program has some form of ambition, has some form of goal they want to work to, and they're willing to share and back that. And I would put every single person in that category of being able to do that. And we all know there's going to be a struggle. They honour the struggle. This is very much a mindset thing for me, because we all have our ups and downs. Even on that photo shoot that I recently done, I basically plateaued for 3 weeks straight. Nothing happened. I was dropping calories, I was increasing cardio, and for 3 weeks straight, absolutely nothing happened. And my mindset is always just going to happen. It's part of the process. I know I just need to keep pushing. And I will naturally try and adopt that. Now, it's difficult and it's frustrating, but often I'll just get a push in the right direction. And again, it was from working with a coach. Andrew, just keep in line. Just keep doing what you're doing. It's going to happen. And then it did. And I was happy with how the shoot went, things like that as well. So again, we all go through those periods of questioning, struggling, going through the ups and downs. It's perfectly normal, and it's all part of the process. Hope I've repeated my slide there. Oh, but sorry, there's actually a second part to the slide. And this is something that I kind of embrace, and I think should be a key part of everyone's thought process. Many people complain about a struggle or a challenge. High performers in this case don't. They find the weeds, getting muddy, that showing up and even tired will make them their best. And there's been quite a few times in my life that, even in this business, probably more than I'd like to admit, where I have literally sat on the end of my bed or my couch with my head in my hands going, why the hell am I doing this? And for whatever reason, I think just the mindset shift of, I'm just going to carry on regardless. I'm just going to carry on regardless. You have to adopt that, because there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, whether it's a weight loss journey, whether it's a business you're starting, whether it's life. Like, there's so much can go on at any one time. And you just have to embrace that as part of the process and try not to complain about it. There's so many things you could complain about in this life. I don't think 99% of them merit it, especially in the lives that we live. So one thing that I will really try not to do is complain. Simple. I know that sounds very, very vague, but in terms of mindset shifts and just accepting it as it is, cool. Something didn't go my way, no problem. That's what it is. I carry on. And that's kind of one of the things that I've tried to adopt since reading this, and again, more and more in life as well. And the final kind of point to this was courage was also defined as what not necessarily wanting to serve a load of people or anything like that, but maybe one person or one unit, whether that's your wife, husband, partner, family, small group of people, and people will just continue to work through that. I'm sure every person in the room who's got children would take a bullet for them. I'm sure Jordan would for his newborns as well. No matter what, he's just going to carry on. Something happens, but I've just got to carry on. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing because I know for a fact Jordan's a high performer, and he always will be. Carry on regardless is the mindset, and I think that's absolutely key. But that is my slides tonight. That's kind of it was more of a summary of the book than anything else. That was kind of the key points that I took from it. It's definitely one I would recommend. Again, I generally pick up the Audible and the hard copy as well, and try to do both, and I will do both at the same time. You read it so much faster, and it's very rare that you have to go and read the same page 3 times like I normally do when I read a book. You read a book and you don't take anything in. Did I even listen to that there? So hopefully you all enjoyed that. Anyone get any questions, anything I can help you with at all on specifically around high performance or anything along those lines? Dean, the book is called High Performance Habits, and it's by a guy called Brendan Bouchard. There's another book around habits called Atomic Habits by James Clear. Really, really good book. Well worth a listen. If you're someone who struggles to read books, get the Audible. Absolutely fantastic. A lot about compound interest, and something that we again talk about, the small tweaks over time, but very, very, very good. So I would give those a go. Anyone get any questions? All good?
All good.
All good. Anyone get any other questions not related to tonight's topic that I can help you with before we get into the Q&A from the check-ins? All happy? Must be answering all the questions. Must be ticking all the boxes. How's everyone finding I know some people may have seen this. I've seen this from the start anyway, but we recently kind of been put together the video course that's getting emailed out. How's everyone finding that, Pav? I've seen you comment in a few of my YouTube videos. I keep meaning to respond because they're on private videos. But how are you finding the videos and stuff so far? You finding them helpful?
Videos are great. I think it's awesome. Only one thing, because sometimes I really don't find straight away time when it comes.
Yeah, of course.
And then I'm trying to search my emails. It would be good if there would be some sort of checklist, like, okay, video 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I can pick. I've seen it. Then I've watched a couple of times already.
Yeah. What I would do, Pav, is create a separate email folder.
I have one. I have one, but there's all from AMF, everything from you is coming there, and there are about 9, 10, 11 already.
I see the thing is, because they're created for you guys only, they're on like private, so they're down as unlisted. So I can't put them into like a playlist and stuff to go on anytime. You have to visit it through the link.
What I meant is more of like a physical document pick list, something
to work through the videos.
No. And I would even print on my desk and say, okay, I've seen this one. I would just manually tick them that I've not missed any.
Yeah, got you. Cool. That's definitely an idea. We're talking about physical documents. Let's see.
PDF or whatever something,
I think I showed this to Jordan. I'm not sure if I showed this to Nicole last week. Did I show this to Nicole last week or the week before? The recipe cards? Don't think
showed it in one of the calls we did. earlier in the week.
Was it in our group call? There's
Yeah,
Jordan
I don't
looking
think it
good.
was the it wasn't in the group call, I don't think.
Oh shit, that's not what I'm looking for. Let's see, where is it? Where are we? Okay. So, fuck, that's not it. Jordan, do you want to rattle off any questions while I have a wee look for this? What I'm looking for?
Yeah, so quite a few questions tonight. So Brian is asking, can you join the group calls without Facebook? So yes. You should get an email with the link. Also, I saw Andrew posted the link today in the bootcamp. I don't know if Brian's in that or not. I haven't checked, but
no, I think, but well, Brian actually lives down in Australia, so I'm unsure if his time zone may work, but I will give him a shout with that.
Yeah, it's just should hopefully get an email with the link. It is the same link every week as well, guys.
Yeah, so the link never changes.
So if you just save it, then you'll get in. So that's that one. Then Ramon was asking, coffee versus pre-workout. What's your views on that? Like versus like a pre-workout energy drink or specific like pre-workout supplement?
So this is what I do. So caffeine is the performance booster. Caffeine's going to boost the performance. That's ultimately what it's going to do. So getting caffeine in pre-workout is beneficial. Now that can be done by consuming a coffee. There are other things that are in a pre-workout, such as nitric oxide, that sort of stuff that will help with a pump, blood flow. We're talking 1% here. We're talking 1 to 2% max. So is there benefit to having a pre-workout over just a coffee? Yes. But what I personally do is I have a coffee and take a non-stimulant pre-workout. That's because I enjoy taking both and I just love coffee. So getting some caffeine in pre-workout, definitely beneficial. But if you're someone who doesn't like caffeine or maybe gets a little sensitive to it, for example, then yeah, just have a non-stimulant pre-workout. And if you're not a coffee fan, pre-workouts, all good. They both have benefits. But the important part is consuming the caffeine, and then maybe you get some additional benefits from things like beta-alanine and stuff. These are ingredients you may have heard of in the pre-workout side. Oh, and this is, just for reference, this is what I was talking about. These are the new recipe sheets. So rather than a link to the meal plan, we're going to have these. So you can actually print these off, have them handy, keep them, and then if they're on your phone, the link kind of just takes you straight to the YouTube video anyway. So we're going to implement these actually this week, hopefully in their plans, or next, we'll see. But yeah, always trying to improve. So always open to suggestions if anyone has them. That was one suggestion from a client, and I think it makes sense.
Yeah, cool. No, those cards look excellent. I think they'll be really useful, I think. So next question was Colin. So he was asking, so timing of cardio sessions on the same day as weight sessions for the maximum benefit.
For maximum benefit at a different time.
Yeah, I would always say cardio after the weights. Would you not?
For actual maximum benefit, different day.
Yeah.
For second maximum benefit, different time. So one morning, one afternoon, or one morning, one evening. And then if all else fails, cardio after weights. That would be the order of priority. But you have to remember with this, getting the cardio in is the important part. Now, in a perfect world, you do it in a separate day. Say you get 2 sessions for the week, maybe 4 gym workouts. In a perfect world, you do it in a different day. We don't live in a perfect world. So doing it maybe in the same day because you have a bit more free time, aka on a weekend, where you can get more in, perfect. Try and split them up. But again, life gets in the way. So sometimes you're going to have to just go to the gym, get your cardio in as well. Do the weights first after your 5-10 minute warm up, then hit the cardio.
Good, no, agreed. Stephen, next question. Stephen King says, what's the best way to deal with sort of slight strains and niggles after a workout?
Get an MOT once a month. from a sports therapist. Some sort of deep tissue massage, some stretching in the evening or post-workout. Sorry, Scott, is my sound okay?
Yeah.
Oh, it's my belief. So, no, cool, Scott. I'm talking quietly because there's people in their bed. That's all. So I'm wondering if I'm just a bit loud. In terms of niggles, injuries, things like that, I would say go and get some deep tissue massage work done once a month. I would also put up there in importance doing some stretching, some static stretching in the evening or post-workout. Again, really great way to rewind and relax at night as well. Proper warm-up actually would probably be next in line in terms of avoiding those. And ultimately it'll come down to trying to prevent those injuries and niggles. You're going to get them to some extent. I'm sitting here right now and I can feel my hips are incredibly tight. I have got a little niggle after today's workout because I was doing an exercise I hadn't done in a while. You're going to have those. And ultimately what I will do is stretch it off a bit tomorrow, continue to go a walk, and I'll rest it up for a few days. I'm not going to train this body part for another 3-4 days at least. So just listening to your body as well. If you are finding you're overly sore, you've got quite a lot of niggles or maybe some slight tweaks going on, take a step back for a day or two, go and maybe get some physiotherapy or sports massage, something like that, and then refresh and go again. Make sense?
Yeah, that's cool.
Cool.
It's just it's more niggles than usual, but it's just like my shoulder. But it didn't stop me training or anything. It was like once I started training, it was fine, but it just kind of it's a bit odd. Just noticed it. So
yeah, I mean I don't know how many I've had over the years. I will train round them. If something causes a sharp pain, I will stop. If it's getting to the point where it's very discomforting, I will stop. I have, to my detriment, I can actually feel my back just now. I'm sure you've heard the story. I'm not going to bore you with it again. But there was times I literally struggled to walk out the gym because I had a very bad back and continued to deadlift. Don't do that. that is idiotic. At absolute best. If it's really a serious strain or it's causing a good bit of discomfort, it's like a sharp shooting pain or anything, that's when you know to cut it. Just leave it out, go and get it assessed, and then we refresh and go again. You can delay a workout a week. You can delay the program a couple of weeks. If you're ever injured in the program, we'll always say, listen, don't stress about the time in the program. Let's give it a couple of weeks. Program's not going anywhere. Rest up. We just don't want you injured and doing damage for the long term. But if it's just small niggles and things, just some general kind of wear and tear, that's to be expected, and we just manoeuvre that as much as we can.
It's more just general wear and tear. It's more like I'll train a day and then next day I'll be off or I'll do steps or something. So it's not
that's
anything. It's 100%. Like kind of wasn't a major issue. Yeah.
Good. So next one, Kaylee is asking about creatine. So she's thinking of taking creatine, and she's asking if you take it every day or just on training days.
5 grams a day for the rest of your life.
So creatine is like one of the most researched supplements there are.
It is the most researched supplement, and it is one of the safest and most beneficial.
Yeah.
Literally every human being should take it. I've actually tried to get my mum and dad to take it, even though they don't weight train. Like, it would genuinely be beneficial for them.
And because it's natural, and the body actually produces creatine as well, so it's like it's
just not quite in the amounts that we really need for the benefits.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter around the timing or anything really. People will always check, should I do it right before workout or whatever? It doesn't really matter. It's just really topping up your stores so that you've always got it there.
And before we move on, you don't need any of the fancy names on them either. Get the cheapest one. Creatine monohydrate. It's like 10 quid for a 4-month supply. It's very, very cheap because it's been around so long. It's just obviously mass market now. You just need creatine monohydrate. You don't need anything fancy. It saturates the muscle cell to 100%. You don't get better than 100%.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely one that you would recommend. Final question from Helen. She's asking if anyone does outdoor running and what you do during periods where it feels really hard for no reason.
Do you know what? It's funny. I experienced that when I went back to my running after photo shoot prep, but it was more just because I hadn't done it in a while. Like anything else, you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, and you're going to become more trained the more you do. Consistency, progression, continuing to get better. It should be treated like any other workout, tracking and measuring your times, improving, doing more, doing it faster. Like these are all things you should be striving for, and you will ultimately, push against that. You'll start to progress and go the other way. We're always going to have bad days. We're always going to have those, I'm not feeling it today, or I'm struggling today. You do one set and you're like, it's going to be a long workout. We all have those days. As long as it's not consistent, as long as it's not 2 or 3 of those a week, you're fine. Because then it would be a question of, right, well, if I'm like struggling every day or 2 or 3 days a week, something's off. Sleep, energy, hydration, food, overall stress. It could be a multitude of factors go into it. So if it's a one-off, cool, no problem. Continue to try and push and get better. Crack on. Make sure you get plenty of sleep, not recovering well, and again, listen to your body. If it's multiple times in a week, ease off.
Yeah. I'd say as well, like if it is just like a one-off or every so often you're like, I feel bad for it, and you can't really put your finger on it, then just assess sort of like, did you do anything differently prior to that run that you would normally, is it a different time that you started running? Did you eat something differently? Just try and think and see if there's anything that's kind of potentially causing it.
Definitely to be associated with the weather as well. I know when it's sleet outside, I'm like, I feel terrible today. I should rest up. Honestly, it's not what I'm looking for. No, in all seriousness, again, if it's the odd day, fine. But for the most part, you shouldn't be experiencing that. If so, there would probably be an issue there and something worth looking closer at. And again, I wouldn't just make a recommendation. I wouldn't just spew something out for that. I would start breaking things down. Okay, how many days have you trained? How did you feel in training days? How's your nutrition? How often you eat? How's your hydration? How's your sleep? How's your supplementation? Like, I would start asking all those questions then, and then you start to see, right, okay, something's off here, here, and here. Let's address these first. It's not necessarily just going to be the running itself. It could be a lot of other factors and things going into it.
All right, so yeah, well, that was all the Q&A questions. So that's us.
Perfect.
But obviously, accountability bootcamp starting next week.
Yes, so accountability bootcamp starting Monday. We do have the league table and things made up. So essentially, how that's going to be scored is like points for completing workouts, complete check-ins, showing up to the group calls, checking in time, and completing your pictures, measurements, and weigh-ins. Because we still, unfortunately, forget to do them sometimes. We're all human beings, of course, but those will kind of how the points will be scored. The winner is going to get either the flights and hotel to Mykonos or the flights and hotel to Marbella as the prize. So the winner of the accountability bootcamp will be a specific prize in and of itself, and it'll be one of the holiday ones that we had planned for the year. So nice bit of incentive to end the year in a high. Obviously, we want to push on, make the most of the last 3 months of the year, make sure everyone's pushing on with momentum into 2022. We've got the camp, the seminar on the 13th of November as well in Glasgow. So if anyone hasn't registered their interest for that and wants to show up, by all means do so. We're going to be walking through some exercise execution, doing a seminar in the morning and afternoon. I think it starts at 1 p.m, Jordan, is that
1 p.m, mate. 1 p.m.
Yeah, cool. 1 p.m. Saturday. So if anyone hasn't made it clear that they want to come along, by all means do so to myself or Jordan or David. And you are all more than welcome. It's all part of the programme. So looking forward to that. Accountability Bootcamp. One of the key parts of this is anyone who has booked calls or accountability calls with myself, David or Jordan, you must book all your calls for the rest of the year. Even if it's, 2 2 months out, we want to say, listen, we have a focus for each of these calls. This is what we're working towards over the next 4 weeks. When I get on this next call, I want to have achieved X. And it's going to be focused around the process, ticking the workouts, hitting the step targets, checking in time, because if you do all of those, we can help you achieve the result. The fat loss, the muscle gain, everything else will come with that, just by focusing on the process. So that's why we've made it very process driven, rather than, the person who loses the most weight, because ultimately everyone's in a different journey. Everyone's at different points. But if all you do is focus on the plan in front of you, tick the boxes, complete everything, you'll fly. So that's the goal with the accountability bootcamp. And again, we're testing it out. Hopefully the Trainerized group features something that adds a bit of value as well. Again, we had a community before. I will say everyone turn the notifications off on it. I certainly do have, and I would recommend if they does the same. The last thing everyone wants is to be bombarded all day, but I think it's a good place to just throw some additional motivation and things in. And what we can do is we can make like a workout of the day. So stay tuned for some of those. When you aren't expecting it and it's snowing outside on the 1st of December and I'm putting in an outdoor HIIT workout and we'll see who's pulled enough. So again, hopefully you enjoy it. And if there's anything, again, any ideas that you think we can implement to improve this program, give you a better experience, push us towards getting a better result, we're all ears at all times. But hopefully you all enjoyed the call. Need anything else from myself, David, Jordan, you know where to find us. And again, just bear with us. I know obviously David's bereavement during the week, so if there's anything we can do to support any one of you, please, by all means, I'm here at any time, just reach out. But hopefully you've all had a good week. Remember to check in for us today. And I am going to bed because I'm struggling to keep my eyes open here. Have a good week, team. See you later on.
Cheers. See you.